Hello and welcome to this edition of Minstrels on the Block, where we bring you the finest singer-songwriters in the Valley area. Today's special guest is Mr. Riley Yielding. You may remember him from such shows as Kaleidoscope. Riley, good to have you on the show.
Good to see you, Brian.
Good to see you too. So, tell me about yourself. Where were you born?
Oh, wow. That's a tough question to just jump right into. It's complicated. I can't tell you, or I'd have to kill you. I was actually born in Washington, D.C., I'm ashamed to say. My dad was up there for a brief period of time for a job, which I can't tell you about, or I'd have to kill you for that, too.
Awesome.
And then we moved back to Birmingham. We're Southerners, of course. But I was raised in Birmingham, and then I came to Auburn to go to school and couldn't afford to leave town, so I'm still here.
I think that's a story of a lot of
Yeah, at 50, and I still can't afford to leave town.
So now, you can't tell me what your father did because you'd have to kill me.
Right.
What'd your mother do?
Okay, he was a doctor and she's a nurse. He did research. He did medical research on cancer and that kind of thing for the NIH back then.
Gotcha.
Now he's an old-timey ER doc at 81 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, he loves it. He retired from the academic world to do what he always wanted to do, which was fixing people.
Nice.
And he's an old-fashioned kind of doctor. They love him. They love
Best
him.
kind.
Yep.
Now, was your parents musical at all?
Yeah, there was always somebody playing a piano and four-part harmony with my brothers and sisters and that kind of thing.
So is that where you picked it up at?
Yeah.
So now, tell me a little bit about, well, first of all, the pivotal moment when you decided that you wanted to pursue music.
I think I was just bored one day. You know, I always wanted to play music, but the problem is when you're young, you're told you can't do that.
Right.
You have to do something. So I went to college and I majored and minored in so many different things and ended up, I was going to go to medical school. I was going to be a doctor, but I didn't have the patience. So after I decided not to do that, I worked for about 10 years doing a couple of jobs that, they were fun. They were okay. But I had already decided that when I turned 30, I was going to quit no matter what and try to do something for myself. And it's not been hugely successful, but I'm still alive, and obviously I'm not starving to death. So
You miss no meals.
Right. Yeah, ain't gonna miss no meals.
So now, tell me a little bit about you're obviously a fantastic singer, songwriter, musician, amongst other things. And
go ahead. Oh, go on.
Tell me a little bit about your education and becoming such.
Well, that's just the school of hard knocks. I mean, I went to college and ended up, of all things, majoring in English literature and minoring in physics, chemistry, and biology, and quitting all that. And essentially, there's this thing that's called unschooling and unjobbing, where you sort of purge yourself of all of that stuff and you pursue your own interests. And one of the things I had always been interested in was music. I loved to sing. And when I first started playing guitar, I only wanted to play guitar well enough to accompany myself, because it's hard to find somebody to accompany you.
Yeah.
Would you learn this song? Well, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So my sister used to accompany me when I was a younger fellow. We'd sing and sit around the piano, and I never had to worry about what the chord was and who was going to play the song. I just got to sing, which I love to do. And so I spent a little time learning how to play, and it was late. I was probably 28 or 29 before I really started trying to learn how to play guitar. And it was an unusual, I had bought an old guitar. It was a great guitar, a 1966 Epiphone Texan, which was made when they were still made by the Gibson Company in Kalamazoo. And I bought this from a fellow I worked with, and the bridge was coming up. So I took it to a music store. I wanted to buy the guitar because it was a great price, $150 or something like that. And everybody said, take that to Mac. And old timers here know who Mac was. He did instrument repair forever. And he ended up kind of being a dad to me. He fixed that for me, and then I thought, man, I want to learn how to do this. So I started building instruments and working on my stuff. And just real fortunate. I wouldn't go by and ask him questions. I think that's probably why a lot of people didn't get that kind of mentoring and that kind of tutoring, is because they would go by and just ask him questions. And really, I just went by to visit and hang out with him. And if I had built something, I would take it and I'd show it to him. And that was always all it took. He would look at it and he would say, wow, you did this and you could have done this, or you did this. And he would look at it, and we did that dance for about 10 years. So at the same time that I was learning how to play guitar, I was learning how to build guitars.
Right, yeah.
And so between the two of those things, actually the building is kind of depressed right now because I guess it's just the overall economy.
Yeah.
People are not spending money on high dollar items right now. But it's still, it's okay. It's I hang them on the wall. They don't eat anything. And I continue working. I do all kind of repair work. But that was that's how all that it's all coincidental. You look back at your life and it's all kind of coincidental. What if I hadn't bought a guitar that was broken? What if I hadn't been directed to Mac's shop? What if I hadn't decided to go and just hang out with him? And we had this ritual. You'd walk in and he was in this little window back there where he did his work, and he'd see me and he'd immediately put down his chisels and he'd pick up his rolling papers and he'd roll a home rolled cigarette. They were crushed out in various stages and smoking all over the room, and I'm not really a smoker, but I would always smoke a cigarette with him, and so I would take it and I'd just fumble. I just never could. He showed me all these cool things, but I never could get that right. So then I would hand it to him and he'd roll it up and hand it back to me and I'd lick it, we'd sit there. It was just a ritual. And then we would start talking about everything except building guitars. We would talk about what was going on in the news, what was current events, how his wife was doing, what were his cool commissions. Here, play this one. What do you think about this one? And he'd show me the ones that he was building. And I'll run across people who have Mac's guitars and they'll say, "Oh, let me show you this one," like they think it's going to surprise. No, I played that guitar. I played that guitar before you played that. I wrote a song on that guitar
before it was even polished.
So that's that big history.
And today, Mr. Riley Yielding is undoubtedly the finest luthier in this area.
Whoops! Yeah, thank you very much. Sorry about busting the mic with my hand, Donnie. It's okay to make a shout out to the sound guy.
The guy in the window.
Oh, look! I get the thumbs up.
Was that a thumb? Now, tell me a couple of questions I have for you. One is, where did you develop your style of music? Because I was talking to Brent Lindley one time. We used to hang out on a weekly basis, and we were talking about songs that were simple, songs that were complicated. And we're talking about some people have difficulty writing anything but a simple song on a guitar. And he mentioned Riley Yielding and said Riley Yielding can't write a simple song. And I've seen you play. I mean, you're like doing all this cool stuff. And so where did you learn that? Where did you develop your flavor?
I got to say there's some truth to that. I like the old jazz stuff, not the recent bebop stuff, but Louis Armstrong era stuff that has complicated, rich chords. That's the stuff I enjoy listening to, that and classical music. So I didn't listen to country music, which is kind of three-chord stuff.
Right.
And so when I started playing, that was the sound I was trying to achieve. I'll probably play one of my brand new songs today that's a blues song. And I could have taken most of that song out and still had a song. But the jazz guys just add more transitional chords.
Right.
But once you've heard that and you get an appreciation for it, it's hard not to want to put those chords in there.
Yeah.
And sadly, it makes them hard to play. I was talking to Rusty before we got started, and I was trying to play this song, and I seem to always write a song. It's a lesson. It's not... If I can learn how to play this song, I don't have to take a lesson. So I write a complicated song. And I think that is probably the music that I'm trying to emulate, is those old jazz standards, Louis Armstrong and that era, the old show tunes. I have a real appreciation for that as well. And I think probably in the future, people will look back at that period of time as the best songwriting that has ever taken place. The duos who wrote music for Meet Me in St. Louis and Oklahoma and those kind of musicals, those were great songs. Lyrically, they're brilliant. Yeah. The chordal structures are brilliant. And I mean, I like Hank Williams too. His songs are brilliant. They're not terribly complicated, but lyrically they're amazing. But it's hard to beat that combination, because the Gershwin brothers and Johnny Mercer, the stuff that they brought to the table was just, I mean, it is so much more advanced than most of the simple stuff that people write. To me, that ought to be the mark that you're trying to hit.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody will ever achieve that again. There's not a consumer demand for that.
Yeah.
At that time, they were writing for these amazing shows that were well received.
Yeah.
And the audiences were extremely sophisticated. The audiences are just not that sophisticated now. You know, a three chord song is about as much attention as you're going to get out of an audience. So I don't know that time will ever come back. I hope maybe in the future it'll swing back around. I think about what all of the influences that came together to make jazz, for instance, which is an extremely complicated musical form. Yeah. And I look around at the stuff that people are doing now, and I kind of think it has to be consumer driven. Yeah. Because why did those guys write that music then? Yeah. Because it's not. I mean, there are people writing that music now, but we'll never meet those people. We'll never hear of those people. It's not what the people have an appetite for. Right. At least at this time. But you know, clothes from the 70s are acceptable today, so maybe it will come back in. Please, can we not do the 80s again? Please. 80s we'll delete. And the cool thing is it does make it harder for other people to play it or to learn it, but at the same time, it's easier it's more entertaining for a crowd when you can do all this stuff because your guitar is entertaining and the overhead all goes to you. Maybe you don't have to pay a damn. I don't know. You need to cut for commercial. Go ahead and we'll cut for a little brief thing. I love playing by myself. Yeah. And you're right. You know, I can do a show and not have to have anybody. But man, it changes things when you got a couple guys on the stage. Oh yeah. I just came back from a festival down in Orange Beach, and there's a guy I play with down there named John Cook who used to play with Taylor Hicks. Mm-hmm. This guy's a musical genius. So, you know how if you finish a song and you're playing by yourself, there's nobody to interact with. Right. When you're playing, you can't really interact unless the audience is really engaging, which you just don't find anymore. Yeah. It is people are very quiet. They're in the last table, and you can tell every once in a while they might make eye contact. Yeah. And at the end of the evening, they might be bold enough to come and put $1 in your tip jar. And sometimes they'll even say, "This was really good. I enjoyed this." But the audience does not engage now. There used to be beaten in the head with Xbox and TV on command, and so it's really hard. But I played with John Cook, and it's just fantastic. You know, the music is much better. Yeah, and you know, it's much more fun to play with other people. It is, and if you're a renegade, you just play really loud, so people cannot pay attention to anything else but you. That's a brilliant strategy. We'll be right back after this. Let's check out one of Riley's songs. We'll see you shortly. Hello, my name is Riley Yielding. I'm a guitar builder and a songwriter from Beulah, Alabama, and I'm going to play an original song for you. And it's called You Remind Me of the Blues, because really nobody can give you the blues. People say songs are 3 chords in the truth, and I hear a lot of blues songs blaming a lot of pain on a lot of people, when really it's not their fault that you're blue. It's kind of your own, and which is greatly empowering because then you can do something about it. You remind me of the blues. I ain't saying you made me blue. The blues found me long before I found you. Still it's true. You remind me of the blues. And I ain't saying you've done me wrong. That's not the reason why I wrote this song. Still it's true. You remind me of the blues. I'm the man that makes these moves to repeat the the needle on the phonograph. But I ain't saying you made me blue. The blues found me long before I found you. Still it's true, you remind me of the blues. Still it's true, you remind me of the blues.
Hello and welcome back to this edition of Minstrels on the Block. Special guest Mr. Riley Yielding. And we're going to start this segment with the single most important question that will be asked in this episode, or any episode for that matter. And this is an earth-shattering question that has caused wars between nations and shook the earth. Elvis or the Beatles?
Elvis and the before that's an important question. But before we get to that question, I just want to point out that why is it that the guest always gets the squeaky chair? You're wiggling around and yours ain't squeaking. That's squeaking. I hope that doesn't. Again, I'm going to reference Donnie again. I hope that this squeaking is not overdriving the amp in there. Okay, back to that question. What would have been great is if they'd had some camaraderie and the Elvis would have played with the Beatles.
Oh yeah.
I used to love Elvis. Mm-hmm. And then recently, is it Carl Perkins that did Blue Suede Shoes, actually wrote it?
I think so, yes.
I listened to Carl Perkins recently. I didn't even know who he was. That's the shame of it. We listened to the guy that the record label pushes on. Elvis is fantastic.
Yeah.
And I actually got to meet somebody who was there when Elvis walked into the studio to help some artist say something with his diction as a punk kid with blonde hair. Wow. Elvis dyed his hair black. And I hear all these stories. For sure, Elvis has an awesome story.
Yeah.
And I had an awesome story.
Yeah.
And he was an amazing artist.
Mm-hmm.
But I think about the guys who made Elvis possible.
Yeah.
Carl Perkins wrote that song,
mm-hmm.
performed it much better than Elvis ever performed it, did amazing lead work on top of it, and we don't know who Carl Perkins is because he wasn't nearly as pretty as Elvis was. He wasn't owned by that particular label. So it is odd. I love Elvis. The Beatles, to me, I always had this. I had this illusion that every one of my artists that I liked were sort of homegrown people.
Right.
Like if a group got together, they practiced in their mom's basement for 10 years, like we do. 10 years, and they worked on this sound, and then they struggled and went on the road. And one by one, all of the groups that I thought were that group, they're kind of falling.
Yeah.
It's like, no, this was put together by this producer and this producer, the mamas and the papas. We want a pretty blonde girl. We want this extremely talented Mama Cass. And then we got this brilliant songwriter kind of guy and this dude with the pretty voice. Let's put these four people together and see what we got. But I think probably the Beatles were less of that. We know that they lost their drummer when they came over here.
Yeah.
So I still, until somebody corrects me, and they might, and it's going to break my heart, I can imagine that they were probably sitting in Liverpool, someplace in somebody's mother's basement, working out these brilliant songs and not being produced by some company or whatever. That's what I want. I want more of that in the world.
Endless covers at the Cavern Club.
Right. Or, I think maybe the Eagles fall into that category. I'm losing groups the more I learn about it because I just grew up, hey, this stuff on the radio, this is what I want to listen to. It's pretty music.
Yeah.
And I always thought that that's what was going on. Mm-hmm. But then I find the second tier group, sort of like Carl Perkins, the real deal behind the marketed thing. And man, those are the guys that's what I want to listen to.
Jon Stewart all the way around, baby. Not the singer, not the talk show host. That's the most informative, one of the most informative and in-depth answers we've ever gotten to that question, and a very, very good one.
I'm just supposed to say, wait a minute. Beatles.
Well, Actually, the Beatles come out on top most of the time. One time we did get Jimi Hendrix, but most of the time it's the Beatles.
Wait, you asked that question and they throw you
I think that was Don White.
Oh, well, that would make sense.
But now...
Don has excellent... Little shout out to Don. Don White has excellent taste in guitars.
Oh, yes, he does. Yes, he does. Now, speaking of guitar building, luthier, singer-songwriters, Mr. Riley Yielding, back to you. Tell me, I see you've got a stack of CDs here on the table, which we're going to pimp shortly. But
we pimp them at every opportunity. The newest one, this is all original stuff, and all very different. This is the first one, and it's more kind of singer-songwriter, just me playing chords. And this one in the middle has a little horn on it. But, and this is ancient history, so it's hard to get excited about it. It's like, do I remember to bring them in out of the van when I go to the gig? Rarely. They sit there in that box, and I forget to do that thing, which we're supposed to do, is to press the CDs, try to make some actual money instead of gnawing on my own feet on Friday night when there's no food in the refrigerator. But I'm excited because I've been working on a jazz project now for a while with a friend of mine in LaGrange. In fact, he puts on the Powers Festival there in Noonan, Georgia, and I'm going to play that next week.
Excellent.
But we worked on this project for a while, and because I'm just annoying, it took longer than it should. But we're finally going to get that out here. It's going to be called That Voodoo You Do. There's one original track on that song and 7 standards. With a lot of instrumental stuff, including and some vocal work as well.
Right.
It's going to be the kind of project that you can just put in the CD player and play it while you're having a party or whatever.
Nice.
It's more easy listening. Although there's some really good tunes in there, like Route 66, some faster ones that are a little bit more energetic. But it's still sort of a background music. I'm really excited about that. I've worked on it for so long, and I work hard to learn a standard, and then you can perform it, but you wish you could do something else with it.
Right.
I've never really done that before. So,
now, is there? You've obviously recorded quite a bit. Do you have any interesting stories as far as recordings have gone, or what's gone into CDs?
I would say that it's sort of like life. It's what you have learned that changes your perspective on it. The reason that jazz project took so long is because there was this sound that was in it that really bothered me when I was and I didn't catch it until it was done and ready. And then there was this thing, and I kept trying to describe it to people. What's this sort of mid-range sound that I hear? And I took it to a really good friend of mine, a great jazz player, and he said, that's compression.
Oh, right.
And we had recorded with some compression. So I was really bothered by that. Now, I would not have known to listen for that as we went along. Like it was in the background, and maybe it was bothering me, but I didn't know why or what it was. But that education was, and that's like, I don't listen to music.
Right.
That's why I don't listen to it. I really like older stuff, pre-70s stuff.
Yeah.
And that's because, like, if you listen to the music of that time, there'll be some artists who don't have compression up to a certain time, and then after that, they would boost all this stuff up and cut off the top and just push this wall of sound onto us.
Yeah.
And so what I discovered is it fatigues my ears. It makes it like I'll begin to get annoyed listening to the radio, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
Like it's just, man, what it is it's just firing my ears. It's fatigue going on.
Right.
And I wish that there was more of a discussion about that out there. That's what I've learned from about recording. But the first one, a buddy of mine recorded this. This was the easiest project I ever made. I just sat in the chair and played the songs. It was great. This one, I thought I was going to be a studio engineer. No, wait, it was this one. I was going to be a studio engineer, and I bought a recorder, set up a little booth, inside of the booth, outside of the booth, inside of the booth, punch in, all this kind of stuff. Horrible. People always want to do this. Horrible idea. And then this one sat with an engineer behind the glass, like Donnie, pushing buttons with the thumbs up. It was great. The jazz project recently, again, let somebody else do it. There's that question, hey, should I buy a recorder? I think that's a horrible idea. We got guys like Jason Ezell, Dean Castile, You've got a recording thing. You know, if you want to write a song and you want to get creative, do that. Either decide, hey, I want to be a studio guy,
right,
or decide I'm going to be. I mean, you can do both, but don't be your own studio guy.
Don't just start up cold and do it. If you want to play music, and there are plenty of people out there who can record you.
Yeah.
So don't distract yourself from the music by trying to do all that other stuff.
Build relationships, you know. And heck, pay for it. You know, that's another thing that I've learned is when somebody knows how to do something. I mean, look at Rust back there. He's running all these cameras. We don't even know what he's doing. Yeah, I don't even want to know. He knows how to do it. And Donnie back there, he's pushing all these buttons. I don't even want to know. You know, I'm going to talk. I can do that. I can talk. So I think that we should probably form more of a community and stuff like that. And if you want to do a creative thing like writing songs, do that. Yeah. And record them. Do record them, but find somebody who's already kind of into it and
let your forte be your forte.
Swap out for it. You know, trade some eggs or something. Whatever. I have eggs for sale, organic eggs. So just come.
Oh yeah, he's also a farmer.
Farmer. See, Tractor 10.
Now, a couple of questions before we go to your next song. One is, you're walking around the house on a Saturday afternoon, drinking a cold one, whatever. What are you most likely to be listening to on your iPod, CD player, record player, 8-track tape player, or a cassette player?
You know, you'd think that would be a really, really complicated question, but it's pretty easy. Silence.
Silence.
Yeah. I mean, I got so many things going on in my head. I think that I probably write songs in advance of writing them. So I'll be thinking about a melody or something, and really when it's pretty annoying to be around me because I'm the guy who controls the stereos, you know. But I'm not, it's going to be this station. I'm like, it's going to be no station. The volume's going to be turned off. And I don't know why it is, but I'm just not, I don't really enjoy listening. I love live music. Mm-hmm. And I think it probably has to do with that compression issue.
Yeah, because the radio does have a plethora of compression.
Yeah, it's all just a wall, just this big wall of sound, and there's no dynamic in it. You go listen to a live. We'll go to listen to the Jazz Society when they put on their thing once a month. I don't know if they're still doing it at the Liberty Theater, but you know, it's you get all the dynamics. Mm-hmm. It's not just. It's not over processed and nothing. Well, you know this because you're a performer. Nothing beats just acoustic. In a room this size, if you were going to put on a show in a room this size and people were actually going to listen, there's no reason in the world to plug a microphone in or a guitar in. Yeah. A room twice this size. If people want to hear music, then you don't really need any amplification. You don't need any electronic wizardry. You just need somebody to perform and project. Yeah. And I love listening to that. There's a thing that goes on in other places. It doesn't go on here yet, and I don't know why, but it's called a house concert. And it seems like a simple idea.
I've heard of those.
I play them in other places. Mm-hmm. And it's so simple, you know, like if somebody wants to know how to put on a house concert, it's 20 friends, $20. Yeah. You know, and it's not like there's a fee to play, but it's you look at your group of friends and you think, who do I know who would like to come and really enjoy some original material, and then you just tell everybody, you know, it's not, you don't have to pay, but if you'd like to donate to the artist in addition to buying his projects, that's why he's coming, and it's at my house, so you can drink whatever you want. We're going to have a potluck. We're going to play music for about 45 minutes, an hour. We're going to take a 30-minute break. We're going to talk to each other. We're going to get to know each other. We're going to eat a little bit, drink a little bit. Then he's going to sit down and play another 45 minutes or an hour, and this will be much, much better than going to some stupid bar where there's a bunch of annoying drunk people, where there's all kind of rules and regulations about what you can or can't do. I would love to see 20 house concert series in Columbus, Georgia, and close down all the bars. I would love to see that happen. And open mics, well, we're just going to have that at my house this week, and everybody invite your friends, or we're going to do it in my barn. It's like this kind of thing is happening all over the country. Yeah. But it's not happening here. So I would love to see that happen. That's
something to strive for.
Leave it to me to bring all the controversial things up. It really should be happening in Columbus. So somebody out there decides you want to do a house concert. I'll give you a great deal on your first one. Even if we don't make a dime, I'd be delighted to do it. And also, if you want to do a house concert, talk to me, because I know guys from all over the country who travel the country just to do house concerts, and I can give you a long list of people who you can bring in to do it. And they know the drill. They know that there may not be a guarantee, but you're going to do your best to get 20 people in the house, and everybody knows, hey, show your appreciation for the artist.
Nice.
And that's how we would encourage original and good music in an area. And it's sad that it doesn't happen in Columbus, Georgia, or Phoenix City. I don't know of anybody. Well, Joe McClure has done a house concert for Ken Gaines, and sadly, people don't know what they are. They don't know to come. But it was a great concert. I'm sorry y'all missed it.
Well, they are all over the country, and they are quite popular. So people out there, have a house concert. Absolutely. Tell you what, we'll check out some more Riley's music, and we'll be right back after this.
When I first started playing guitar, it seemed like everything that I did was a social event involving picking, playing guitars at guitar pools and people's houses, and seems like there was a lot more of this that went on a few years back. And even before I started playing guitar, I remember going to guitar pickings where people were playing bluegrass music and old-time music, and everybody was having a good time. And it seems like nowadays people don't have much time for that, and people are watching TV and going to movies and playing on the computer and that kind of thing. But I really miss front porch pickings, and that's what this song is about. It's called Where, Oh Where Have the Porch Pickers Gone? I'll bring my six string and we'll sit on the porch swing and we'll play some tunes till 2:45. Everyone sings while the mandolin rings. It's an old-fashioned picking. It's just fine with me. Where, oh, where have the porch pickers gone? Married or buried or just moving on? We've had some good times and made up some bad rhymes. As long as there's music, I'm right here till dawn. Let's take the six-pack down to the old shack, or you bring the bottle and I'll bring the jug. If you're a stoner, don't be a loner, just come join the party. We'll all take a tug. Where, oh, where have the porch pickers gone? Married or buried or just moving on? We've had some good times and made up some bad rhymes. As long as there's music, I'm right here till dawn. Well, I know what you're thinking. It was all about drinking. Well, maybe it wasn't. Well, maybe it was. But I've made some good friends at front porch pickings, and I'm proud to know them no matter the call. Where, oh, where have the porch pickers gone? Married or buried or just moving on? We've had some good times and made up some bad rhymes. As long as there's music, I'm right here till dawn. If all your contorting is so damned important, then what can you show me for all that you've done? Why be so hell-bent to sit in your judgment? Just come loosen up, we'll all have some fun. Where, oh, where have the porch pickers gone? Married or buried or just moving on? We've had some good times and made up some bad rhymes. As long as there's music, I'm right here till dawn. had some good times and made up some bad rhymes as long as there's music.